at westcoastbellpottery.ca in Nova Scotia, Canada. I posted a video kiln unloading and people seem to really like my whales that I put in that video. So I thought I'd show you how I put together that the mother, father, baby whale. You know, you can read it any way you want, but basically it was a collage of 3 whales that I just sort of put together, and I'm going to show you how I roll a slab, cut the whales, apply the whales, and do the texture. So you'll see the whole process. And I don't have a frame for these ones yet, but I do frame these up most of the time, but I'm going to be making frames this September. I usually do it outdoors where all the sawdust and the mess doesn't matter. So anyway, I've got a North Star slab roller here, which I like better than my other slab roller, because this one can roll both directions, where the slab roller only rolls one direction. But I'm going to show you how to do that. I start with a slab of clay, and this is straight out of the bag, slid, you know, sort of cut down ways, vertically, as even as possible. But I like to square up the slab when I'm rolling it, so I always bang it down and thicken the outer edges. You can do this once it's on the slab roller too, but it just thickens up those 2 edges. And then I place it down on a piece of plastic. So the way I do it is just bang it and wedgie shape it at the end closest to the roller, and then I even take it to the edge of the slab roller and bang up the edge a little bit there, turn it around, and thicken it up a little bit there as well. Pull the plastic to make sure it hasn't wrinkled underneath. Make sure you've got a nice round. Now it's thinner here than it is there and there, so basically when it rolls, it won't roll as far here, but it'll roll further in these areas, and hopefully that will compensate for the fact that it usually ovals out when you roll a slab. And maybe every slab roller is different, I don't know, but this slab roller tends to oval it out a little bit. On the plastic, it's next to the roller. I've set the roller at a 1/4 inch touch over, but pretty much it's 1/4 inch. And then I just give it a push and roll. And then it should just catch, and don't stop in the middle, just keep rolling slowly. It seemed to finish rolling here first, so there'll probably be a little extra oval on this side, I would think. And then go back. So I like this one better. I always find it better to roll forward and back. Yeah, that's not too bad. I have a little extra on this side. Now here's a trick with these. If you're unhappy and you wanted a perfect square, I've learned that the clay can be peeled off here, which is easier said than done. Peel the plastic off the clay most of the time, I always say. And then we've got this little bit where it's a bit shorter there. So if you push that down, making sure you don't get any air into it. You can go a second time. I haven't actually made the roller any tighter. Just rolling it will be enough. And then back again. And I thought when I first did this that it would probably never, you know, stick to the 2 pieces together. But I have done it every time. I've noticed that, and it always does it. Now there's a bit over here, but I don't care because this is a whale tail that's going to be coming up, or the face, and of course they don't fit into a perfect square anyway. And I just smooth out the join, which I will do on the other side too when I turn it over. Okay, so we got a slab that we can use. And then I pick it up. Lift it up at the plastic, place it down. Peel the plastic horizontally. And there you have a slab. Now, a lot of you have done slab building without a slab roller. You just use a rolling pin and 2 sticks that you put either side and use your rolling pin to roll the slab out. It's a lot of work to do that, but it's still possible to get a really good slab doing a rolling pin and 2 sticks. So I need 3 slabs like this. I've already rolled 1. I'm going to roll a 3rd slab now. So from 1 bag of clay, 10 kilos, 22 pounds, I've managed to roll out 1, 2, 3, 4 large slabs for adult whales and 4 small slabs for the small whales. So that's a pretty good amount for a day's work. So we'll see how we get on now. Okay, so slab rolled 15 minutes ago, very soft clay. I'm just going to smooth out this side. The advantage of working on it in this condition is that you don't need to score and scratch anything if you're going to be joining anything to it. And this is the biggest piece of clay, so this will become my board for putting all of them on, since I have 3 to place on this board because it's the 3 of them. So the first thing I do is I'm going to draw a whale, and I, like most people, don't have a photographic memory, so I remind myself of what a whale looks like by putting a picture of one on my iPad, and it can actually just give you ideas of how to do it. But I don't need, it's a fairly simple shape, so I can play with the idea of the actual the pose that it's doing, because the tail's up there. I can make the tail go down in this piece, so I'm thinking that this is the tail going down and the whale is swimming up, and basically the one from above will be coming down and going this way, and then I'll have the baby kind of in between the 2 of them. So I'm just going to draw it. So just fetching the mouth over like that, and then it comes down, and then there's another curve there, and this is reversed from the direction there, so you can see that it's just a matter of sketching in. Now the bottom fin I'm going to put coming out over this way. And then the other one I'm going to apply as a separate piece of clay, so I'm just going to sketch it over here. Now if you want to draw it out on paper first, that might be a help, but I can do it right out of my head because I've made a lot of them. So that one's going to be applied just up here, coming down. And this other pieces of clay here I'm going to save for future pieces, because they're already rolled out slabs, so I may as well use them. And then you just cut it out, and I find it easier to dip my knife in water before I start cutting. So I save all of my scraps. Since I'm working on about 8 of these, it's worth actually keeping everything, because you never know when it'll be useful. For instance, the mouth I always build up but just the upper lip at this point. Because I'm going to do the underside of the whale with a tool. I've made 3 different tools, or not made, I've got 3 different tools that I use. I didn't do any scratching and scoring, but I wet the area first. So I'm just kind of pushing that down. I should use a modeling tool. You can often use the back of your fingernail. And then with the back of the knife, I can just kind of smooth that down a little bit. Tools can be used in lots of ways. Okay, so now I'm going to make the texture for the underside. Now, I also have found lots of things that do this. I made my rubber rib into a texture tool with the little teeth almost there, and there's a back scratcher. And I also have this, which I'm not quite sure what this was for. My guess is it's a cooking tool for some texturing in pastry. But anyway, I like this one. So what I do is I position myself so I can turn the actual, I wet it, and I've got this place right there, and I pull it following the curve of the body. Right to there, dip it again, and I try to follow the same curve, and it's difficult. So you just have to kind of do what you can. And you can smooth it over if you make a mess of it anyway. So I was close to successful there. And then using a brush, I just kind of smooth all those lines in. The flipper will come down here anyway. And then I'm going to grab another coil, just roll in a small thin coil. And this is also wet at the moment, but I'm going to run my paintbrush just down the side of this and up again. Because now I'm actually placing this over the same place there to create the mouth gap. I have customers in the actual gallery, so I'm watching them too. Looks to me like they need help, so I'm going to have to go over there. Okay, so we're back. So now I'm just brushing down to kind of blend that added piece of clay into this area. The finial, is it, of the paintbrush can be used as a modeling tool too. So I'm just kind of getting rid of any rough edges, basically. And then here it's a little more careful, but I'm just trying to push that down a little bit without denting the ribs underneath. Okay, so now I'm going to finish smoothing and rounding all around the body. So it'd be easy to push this tail up, bend it down, really make it more three-dimensional. Depending on what you want as an effect at the moment, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to move the tail until I know what the other two whales are going to look like in the actual trio. So I do have to put and smooth off again the other fin, so I'm dipping the thing into the water again. Get this back to being nice, and then I'm just going to see if it's the right size before I apply it. That's not bad, that looks like it would work fine. So before I apply it though, I want to give it some little moves, texture moves I guess. And somebody needs my help again. I like this little modeling tool for doing the fins. I'm just making that up. It gives the clay a little interest and movement. Okay, so now where are we going to put it? That piece of dry clay fell off. My guess is it fits in right there. And this fin is going to be the one that I think will have the arm over the fin over the top of the other whale, so I'm not going to stick this down at all. I'm just going to leave it loosely on the surface. I made myself a stamp like that I can use to give a little extra muscle movement to see almost without making it look like a pattern. And coming up the back of the whale, there's like a little fin type suggestion in the back of a whale up there. So I'm just putting my little lines in now. And what's missing? The eye. So just making an eye. And that's not too hard to do. You just basically make two very small coils. You can be a little bit more elaborate if you want to. But you're just basically creating this eye, which has got a ball in the center, obviously. So that's the most, and then we can do a little extra texture, but I'm just going to wet it and scrubble it up a little bit. Position them nicely. You can give yourself a lot more like wrinkles around the eye just with the modeling tool, but you're giving yourself some structure by just doing it like this. And then wet the bottom of this a little bit, place it in there. And then it's kind of like you can play around by different type of eye things, where I've just decided just to put a little hole, and the glaze fills in that and actually gives a little darker color. But it's nice, like I said, you can create some give yourself a little bit of lines for the glaze to fall into as well. Now, the whale breathes and has that blowhole, so I've just used a pen top for this, and you can simply give yourself a little channel. And that's enough for that, but if you want to kind of emphasize it a little bit, you can do the same type of little marks around it. Okay, so this part down here I still have to smooth out. And we might want to give ourselves some lines for the kind of lines of interest, I like to call them, because you're trying to create something that'll catch some glaze. And the final thing that always makes it pop a little bit is to sort of completely wet that area up there for a minute or two. And you can do it even if you want to on the actual edge of the fin up here. Because the whale has crustaceans that kind of adhere to it, and for that you need some really dry clay. So that's been softening that area, and I'm just going to use the brush to kind of create some slip on the surface. I'm going to take the dry clay and I simply drop it right over the surface there. Some of it may loose and come off. Let's get this down. You can do it there as well, just to give it a little bit. You can put it any way you want it, you know. And then quite often, if I just use this little wallpaper roller, you can roll those in, but you can't really do much because it'll sort of stick into the roller. Okay. So that's enough just to give it that. It might be some on the underside here. You might want to throw some on there too if you want. But, and then I push them in if there's any falling off the surface there. And some of these will fall off, but not all of them. So it's a nice way to get yourself some texture there. And the final thing, just down the back of the whale. Give yourself a little bit of muscle kind of hints for the whale. So that's one. So I have to make 3 of these, and this one is kind of swimming upwards. I'm going to have another one kind of swimming downwards, and then the baby will be in the middle. So I can put you on stop motion for the rest of that. Okay, so I've got that whale and a baby whale made. So I'm going to work on the composition a little bit at this point. So let's get this one torn off, I don't need that. So I didn't glue this one down because this one is going to be swimming down, protected by that one, and then another one I think is going to be swimming up. So we have like the baby surrounded in case there's a killer whale in the area. So let's see if I can place this one. But I really need to make sure I can get this one. So I'm going to take that over there temporarily. And it shouldn't crack because this clay is really plastic. And I'm just going to wet this area a bit. This is where the other whale will go. because they should stick together quite easily. The clay is, that's why I do these when the clay is really soft. So I'm going to take it off the paper. I don't want it to be lifted up again, so I'm going to kind of position it and leave it. I want the eye to be visible, obviously, to that, and then we're going to just give it a little pressure. I'm not going to do the tail because the tail can actually be, we can start to do some three-dimensional kind of stuff with this at the moment now. And then this flipper, I don't want it to be totally over the whale, like flat, because I like it to have some three dimensions. I think this flipper could actually be, it's like they're holding hands. Oh. How about that? Doesn't that look cute? Now you can leave it like that, just with two, but I like the idea of having the other one coming up to protect the baby from underneath as well. It's a tough world out there, so let's see, play around with this flipper fin as well. Yeah, that's okay. When I slid this onto a kiln shop, I was so nervous that it would just crack, but it survived last time I did it. So we can play around with this to give it a bit more. And then this one looks great already. And then the other flipper's protecting under here too. I don't think we need to lift too much, but maybe just a little bit of bend in that area too as well. After all, it's a three-dimensional wall relief sculpture. Yeah, that looks better. So we've got two. So I can actually, I'm going to look at this while I'm working on it. There's a little bit there where I didn't have paper, so I'm just fastening this off, because you don't want this to stick to the board and crack during the drying process. There we go. Anywhere if this sticks to the board, likely to stop it from shrinking properly. So I'm going to have another one coming up and just going along down here as well. This is bigger than the last one I made. And I'm actually going to do something with the tail since I've kind of finished up here as well. So bending it. And I often put a little bit of clay underneath to hold it up. Does that give it enough, I wonder? And this one came down, so maybe I'm going to curve this one that way now. I liked it the other way though. Actually, that's better. Yeah, that's good. So we already have a nice piece, but I'm going to go for gold and add the third whale. Okay, I have the three whales made, and the bat that this one's on and the bat that the other one on. If I put them together, I think I need a slightly larger bat, which is why it's really a good idea to put them on newspaper, because it's easy to slide them over when they're on the paper. So that will be my next trick, just to kind of slide them onto a large square 24-inch wide bat, and then I can position them together. Okay, I slid this one onto the very bottom of this bat. This is like a 24 by 20 inch size concrete bat, and I'm going to try now to slide the other one down, and I'm trying to position it with my imagination. I'm trying to position it where it's going to go, because I don't want to block the actual face of the app. So the tails are where I feel like I've got to overlap. But I want to make sure I can do this so the paper isn't between the join areas. And so I'm trying to position it so it's doing that without blocking any part of the face. It's kind of tricky, isn't it? So it's just a matter of doing it. So I'm going to take the papers out, and I'm hoping to be able to lift this and place it down once I've got the paper out. Let's take this one out. So I think it's this piece that I've really got to try and get out. What a need 4 hands. Sorry. So I'm just going to try lifting it, and I'm going to pull the paper off as I do it. Let's hope that works. So let's give you a longer view of me scrumbling around here. Tails are going to be overlapped, and that part of the whale is going to be wet, I think. So I'm going to wet a lot of this clay so I can actually soften where it's going to sit, because I will have to put quite a bit of pressure on. Remembering I'm trying not to actually block the face of this whale. Good job, clay is plastic. That's it, got that bit out. I can always lift it again if it's terrible. Oh, that actually has a lot of energy, doesn't it? I think that's working pretty good. I was hoping I wouldn't have to lift it again, because that was quite a challenge. But I'm just looking at the composition. Let's get rid of this. My table gets so messy so quickly. Wow, that actually has a nice look, but I feel like I could twist it around just a touch. Because I like the eye popping right through there, but I didn't want it to look like the whale was scooting over. So that is a really nice composition there, I think, now. Wow. Yeah, this worked out perfectly. I didn't even mean it. Isn't that the case? So now I'm just pressing down. You've got to have some decent join on this. And when I come to slide this off into the kiln, that is going to be blood pressure day. So now I can start playing with the tail of this whale that would remain kind of flat. I've had customers off and on all day. This is September 9th now. First week of September was much slower than normal, and then it's sped up again this last 2 or 3 days. So we're back to having days like the summer. There was a piece of clay stuck in there. What do I do with it? I can grab another piece. The one place I'm feeling a little insecure about is this part of the tail here, but I think it'll be okay, but I think I need to give that some support. As it dries, I feel like there might be a little, you've got to have a feeling for clay which you develop over the years. And my feeling tells me that that might develop a crack just in there. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of clay, get it a bit wet. I'm going to add a little bit of clay underneath there where that joint is. I made a bunch of fruit still life platters when I was back in the late 80s, 1990s, and I cut the rim of every platter with pineapple leaves and other things, and every one of them cracked, and they had sharp points where they were kind of molded like this, and that's why I'm feeling the same thing here. Is this might actually be a crack vulnerability here. So I'm going to make it dry slowly, and I'm going to support it with a little piece of clay right there, so the weight of this part of the tail doesn't actually, I want it to be curved, but I don't want it to be too severe so it causes a crack. When you're making things, you have to think physically about the material and what the structural issues might be in the fact that that clay shrinks 12–14%. And I bent this up quite a bit, so I'm just going to model that a little bit more, because that had quite a bit of stress put on it as I was lifting the piece. And I'm giving it support by putting it down to the whale itself. So the idea is this will be seen like that. As you're looking at it now, that's how it will be seen. So now I'm just looking to see if there's any area. I could probably join this to there. As many points of contact as possible, I think that's important here. I can pull this out because I've got a big piece of paper underneath. I don't really need that. And there's a little area here where I can join. Just get that piece of paper out of there too. Under the whale area there, and then on the sort of fin there, I'm just going to rub both sides and give it, with no big pressure point, just a gentle part of my hand there to kind of move and sort of push that in. So we have several areas of contact. I'm trying to create that feeling of protect, cover, cover and run. The whales are going to run because it's like when they see a predator. Now this fin, I want to give this some movement, like it's, gathering some pressure, water pressure to push it forward. So by doing that, that kind of gives it that feeling of strength and push kind of thing. This one is flat, and I'm wondering about that, but I don't think there's much I can do about it because the whale body is above that, and you don't want to make it look like it's in front of this area. So I'm going to put another line here, running a bit of a risk that I don't want to press too hard and have it crack off. But I want it to look like it's underneath the body of the whale. Okay, any other areas? We've got it joined now there, we've got it joined here, it's joined over here and down here and over here. I can probably put a little pressure there, because remember we wet that whole back of the whale, so I can make that look like it's joined there too. So it'd be nice if you ever build something like this, to have a little help for lifting, because that was quite tricky to lift that floppy piece of clay. I'm going to give myself some movement here as well. So we've got quite a lot of points of join. This flipper is joining down over here, so why not? Let's go for another point of contact. The more points of contact we will have, the better. And when I put this in the kiln, I'm just going to slide it off this board onto a kiln shelf. I'll probably do that on this table and carry the whole lot out of there. I was hoping to do a bisque firing tomorrow night, but this is going to take longer than that to dry, so I'll have to delay my firing. I'm going to join the tail there too. It's going to have to dry slowly. All right, I think we have a winner again. The other ones, the three whales, was the first one to sell in that grouping I did in the last video. Okay, so anything I've forgotten? All right, I'll give you a closer look. There you go, work in progress. Looks pretty good. That's the positioning. This is how you would look at it once it's in a frame. Okay, it's another triple whale. So the first one I made sold on the second day it was in the showroom. So I thought, okay, this one has to be remade, and I just remade it. Slightly different variation on the other one. I could show you both, I guess. So I will probably frame this with the background painted around it as well. But it didn't stick or crack to the kiln shelf.